And welcome back, everybody. Boston Mayor Marty Walsh joins us once a month here in studio. Thank you for coming in again.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate that. The big news throughout the course of this week, Hillary Clinton losing New Hampshire by 22 points to Bernie Sanders, and she lost big. You endorsed her. Is she in trouble?
I don't think she's in trouble. I think that this is part of the primary season, and you know, we won Iowa, lost New Hampshire, and we're on to the next state, and I think we're going to have a better understanding probably around Super Tuesday of who's going to be in this race, who's not going to be in this race.
You said that you were campaigning pretty hard for her. You went up there a couple of weekends. You felt the voters were relating to her. Were you surprised that she lost by that large of a margin?
I was surprised. I mean, you know, I went up there 3 or 4 weekends in a row. Actually, Channel 4 covered me a couple times, and we bumped into a few voters at the doors. They were all, you know, they were uncommitted. When I got there, they said they're voting for Hillary. But again, I think people don't always, they keep their vote privately, and you just never know what's going to happen in the election. Bernie ran a good campaign up there and certainly had a lot of college kids, but the demographics showed that he had a lot more than college kid support. So this is going to be a good, competitive Democratic primary, which will make for a better final for a Democratic candidate.
If you could get her ear, what would you tell her to do instead of what she's doing to try to turn it around?
I think one of the things that we have to do a better job at is connecting to millennial voters and really talk about the message about what the future of this country is all about. I think there's a lot of first-time voters, or first-time voters from the presidency anyway, and they're energized by a presidential election, and really you have to get a message out to those young people to let them know why it's important to vote and get your message across to them. And I think that's one of the areas that we have to work on.
Focusing back on Boston, you and Steve Wynn hammered out an agreement on the planned casino in Everett. The city got tens of millions of dollars to try to deal with traffic congestion issues.
Yep.
But for people who live in Charlestown, can you guarantee them this is not going to be a disaster?
No, the biggest thing for Charlestown, folks, is that we're going to get a reconstruction of Sullivan Square, Rutherford Ave, and have it paid for by Wynn, but also paid by the federal government and the state, something that I've been looking for over 20 years. I think that's the biggest win. Certainly, the people of Charlestown wanted to vote on this, and I fought very hard to get that vote, but we weren't successful. But we did get about $300 million in benefits to the community through $30 million in mitigation that will be split over 15 years. Also, $20 million in goods and services, best effort to be bought through Charlestown in the city of Boston, and then the money for the square on top of that. So it's a good deal. I just wish we could have gotten something sooner.
I want to switch to charter schools. This issue is starting to heat up. It was addressed in your state of the city and Governor Baker's state of the Commonwealth. Some parents and the teachers union here in Massachusetts have accused you of promoting charter schools at the expense of the traditional public school. Are you prepared to take on the union?
That's just not true. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. And anybody can say that if they want. I'm a supporter of all education for all kids, and it doesn't matter to me how they get educated. I am the mayor of the city of Boston. My primary responsibility is to make sure we have a good, strong public school education system, and we're going to continue to work on that. But I'm also not going to pit schools against each other and kids against each other and families against each other.
The Massachusetts Teachers Association, though, has said it is willing to spend millions to fight lifting that cap. Are you willing to go to bat against the union?
Well, they're fighting the ballot question. I've been very clear. I don't want a ballot question. What I want to see happen, I want to see the legislature deal with this issue and deal with the issue around education.
You also have a plan to combine the school lottery to traditional public schools and charter schools, combine that lottery. Some parents don't like that. They say that that's a Trojan horse. Is it a Trojan horse?
And a lot of parents like it. And I think the silent majority is not being speaking.
But what do you say to the people who don't like it, who think it's a Trojan horse?
Work with it. People are arguing against that without even knowing what we're doing there. We're talking about having a common application, so when a parent signs their kids up for school, they have an opportunity potentially for a district school or a charter school, and also there's some other requirements that are going to come along with that. So we're against it before we even explained it. I think that they should go to a meeting and listen to the explanation of it so they can understand what we're trying to do here.
Can you guarantee that if students start going to the charter schools, that the charter schools will have a fair representation of minorities, special needs students? Because that's the concern of a lot.
Well, they have that today. They have that today in the charter schools, most of them in Boston anyway. I can speak for Boston. And also, there's not enough seats. So there's far more seats in the city of Boston. I think charter schools in Boston represent roughly somewhere around, I think, 10,000 seats for charter school kids. And Boston public schools are 57,000 up to 90,000. So there's not enough charter school seats for every child in Boston. There's only a limited number. The big numbers are in the Boston public school system.
Last question. The Patriots going to be okay next year?
I think they'll be fine.
All right. I appreciate it. Mayor, thank you so much for coming on, as always. We will be right back.